tell me.
Oh, okay. I don't think this works, does it? Okay. So thank you again for being here. And I think Patrick, after following him, I think he's covered a lot of the objectives that are stated here. As he mentioned, we started this initiative back in 2007 at the AIRE show. And just to add on to one of the comments he said about environmental benefits, I mean, one of the things we're really looking at is understanding how we do common measurement of that, because one of the things that we have faced in the aviation community is that there are numerous initiatives going on around the world, but we used different methodologies for measuring, and so we really are looking at common format and common metrics as we go forward with this. You won't see it on the slides, but I do want to highlight that AIRE really is part of our overall next-gen effort in the United States. We started AIRE as really kind of an initial step on some interoperability trials between the U.S. and Europe, and it really is a component of our next-gen program. So we have some different approaches and how we describe what we're doing in the U.S. as opposed to how it's handled in Europe, but there are a lot of commonalities. When we talk today on the accomplishments that we have here with AIRE, you'll see that we only focus on what we're doing across the Atlantic. We have many more initiatives underway under NextGen where we're doing trials, demonstrations, moving to early implementation. But we don't capture those under the AIRE initiative, because for us the AIRE initiative is strictly the interoperability initiatives between us and Europe across the Atlantic. So the information we have is not going to tell you what we're doing on surface movement, maybe in Orlando or Memphis or JFK, or a lot of the RNAV, R&P work that we're doing in the U.S. In various airports. You won't see that captured here because that's really through a separate program initiative, if you will, in the U.S. But there are commonalities, and to say that we're not taking different approaches, we just are managing it differently. Our teams on both sides of the Atlantic actually do work very closely together on surface movement, on the optimized profile descents, and so we are working to ensure that we're applying a common approach. It's just that we don't measure it and we don't report it in the same way. So just to ensure that we're clear on what you're seeing and what you won't see, I just thought it was important for you to understand that. We do have some of the, if you don't mind, Patrick, again, just to highlight, there have been a lot of partners involved in this initiative from the start, and we look forward to having even more. Delta you won't see Delta's name on there, but they have been involved in some of the CDAs, the continuous descent approaches that we've had into Atlanta. We're working very closely with American, Air France, Lufthansa, TAP, Air Europa, and they've been heavily involved with us over the past couple of years. And we look forward to additional partners joining, as Patrick said, as we move forward with this over the next year or so. If you can go ahead. I think you saw something referencing this too. We really have been looking at the different elements of the flights across the Atlantic. And one of the things we decided in the very beginning is we wouldn't wait until we could do everything to start doing some of the domains where we could actually offer some efficiency in the flight. So we started in areas where we could, and that was really in the oceanic area at first. And then we moved into the arrival domain into Miami, which is where these flights are occurring right now. And as someone may have mentioned earlier, the flights are just westbound. They have been just westbound flights on this particular initiative, but that will change this year, and we'll move into the eastbound flights as well. So we're looking forward to a full gate-to-gate flight with both Air France and American Airlines here in the near future. That had been planned earlier. There have been some delays, mainly due to some weather impacts that we couldn't actually implement that. So we're looking at putting that all together through the gate-to-gate demonstration. I'll just focus on a little bit of what we've done to pick up from where Patrick left off. He talked about the trials, his 48 trials, I think it was, in Santa Maria. As he said, there's a lot of coordination between Santa Maria's oceanic airspace, the New York oceanic moving into the domestic, and then into Miami for the arrival. And the flights that we referenced earlier have been focusing on the optimization of the oceanic portion, picking that up in New York's airspace, and the optimization of the lateral optimization of the flights, moving into a smooth arrival into Miami. I think if you go on to the next slide, it may give some data here on the flights that we've analyzed across the ocean, about 73 westbound flights that you'll see noted here. And again, depending on the aircraft type and whether or not it was a full or a partial tail at arrival, you can see the optimization in the oceanic portion is, and you'll see the savings there, 24,000 kilograms of fuel over the, and how much it is an average over per flight. So those are significant savings, and as you can imagine, that's very important to the airlines in this day and time with the fuel prices that they've been experiencing over the past couple of years. The arrival portion of that, you do see here referenced a couple other areas where we are doing tailored arrivals. We really started the tailored arrival experience out in San Francisco, coming in off of the oceanic airspace in the Pacific. And you can see we've been doing that for a couple of years. There's been over almost 3,000 tailored arrivals, and that is part of the normal operation out in San Francisco. We just recently started into LA. That was back in the fall, so you can see the numbers there of what we've had. And then in Miami, with the flights coming from Europe, we've had about 70 tailored arrivals. You can see the numbers broken down, the full versus the partial, depending on traffic, depending on weather at the time. But from the airlines and the information we've been receiving, they've received quite substantial savings even from a partial tailed arrival. So it's still in their benefit, if you will, for us to conduct it in that manner. You can go to the next. Again, this is just highlighting again, it's very hard to see if you can see those lines. I can't. The difference between the kind of the tailored arrival, basically smoothing out the arrival into Miami versus the standard arrival, and then lining up into the regular flight paths going in there. Most of the flights that have come in there so far have been with Boeing aircraft, but some of the airlines have started flying the Airbus too, so we're in the process right now having that data and then analyzing what the benefits are. But you can see on the chart whether it's the 747 different carriers. I'm sorry, I can't see 400, but you can see there the difference between the tailored arrival and the standard arrival and what the benefits are to the air carriers. So there's a lot of incentive for the airlines to participate in these operations right now. Again, this is their equipage they already have. It's not requiring any additional equipage. So I think there's one more to conclude. Again, what we're doing in the ocean so far has demonstrated savings just on the lateral part. We'll expect to see more when we combine on both ends. We definitely are still impacted by weather, and that's part of why we have to adjust plans, and that's part of the next gen effort anyway, is a better capability for more predictive capability of weather forecasting, better than we have today. Again, the consistent data, so that when we're reporting on what we're doing, we're all reporting using similar parameters, and so that there's a correlation. And I think the methodology and the metrics to make that happen. But it's been a very successful cooperation between the FAA and the SESAR Joint Undertaking. We're really excited that there's more and more partners joining and expressing interest, especially with their latest procurement requests, as we call it in the U.S. Again, we handle this a little bit differently. This is all part of our next gen budget, so it's managed on an annual basis with our normal budget process. So a couple different approaches, but we seem to have worked out our differences as far as how we manage the program. So I think it's been successful. The outcome is successful anyway.